Hey, good morning. Uh, when things are not in the news, we tend to forget them, move on to the next thing. And that's part of the dilemma of living in this time. Things move quickly. But I just want to remind everyone that lava eruption on Big Island of Hawaii continues. Kilauea crater. It's actually, I watched footage this morning. It's a raging river of lava, 30, 40 feet thick, 100 meters wide, and traveling at 30 to 40 miles per hour. Think about it for a moment, how lucky you are to be high and dry wherever you are. But can you just imagine a river 100 meters wide, 30, 40 feet deep, a river of molten rock rushing? Hard to imagine. Definitely changing the landscape there and affecting many people very deeply. But as with all things, much good is coming out of it at the same time. There's the people that have chosen not to, in Puna, Pahoa areas, that have chosen not to evacuate. It's a very tight community developing, and where they're helping each other, because help from the outside is not always immediately coming. And from their perspective, I'm in contact with one person that's part of this tribe that's resisting moving out and just surrendering to the forces of nature. They said that authorities have been less than helpful as far as the people remaining behind are concerned. But anyway, just a reminder that these things are going on, no matter what's going on in your world. And let's all send them love and strength to survive. Yesterday was quite an exciting day for me as far as talking about expanding horizons. It really went off into the realms of the beyond. And I remained there from the time that I made the video all the way till I was graced with my first sleep. And I remember talking about, I was very excited about dimensions and lines, seeing dimensions as vibrations. Vibrations of consciousness, vibrations of light, and in the lower realms, the vibration of matter, which appears to us as solid, but upon scrutiny, closer examination, we see that everything that we consider solid is more empty space than material, than what is solid. Makes you wonder. So this morning is kind of a chance to take a look at things that we might not spend a lot of time contemplating. But I was really fascinated with this line, this x-axis that I first drew, the horizon, representing the first dimension. And I bring another dimension in play as soon as I put the y-axis. So I had the x, what I was calling the horizontal, and the y, what I was calling vertical. Now I've introduced 2 dimensions. So a line, and then, so I start out with a line, 2 lines, and then I connected them with a circle. So line morphs into a circle. And a circle, as we discussed, morphs into a spiral. So I'm really into morphing. Yeah, watching things change. And it's only a matter of perspective, as nothing's really changed. There remain a line is a line, 2 lines is 2 lines, a circle is a circle becoming a sphere. So we talked about 3 dimensions. 1 as a line, 2 as intersecting axes, 2 lines, 3 as circle morphing into a sphere. The 3rd dimension is the world that we spend most of our time in. What we think until we know better, what we think of real, this 3rd dimension. But it's nothing more than a shimmering vibration, after all, as is each of the dimensions. And then I mentioned space-time because this concept is fascinating to me. Quantum physics is a passion, even though I'm the first to admit that mathematically I can't follow, I have no clue of the mathematics of this science. It just resonates with me in a deeper level without having to bother myself with the details. I'll leave that to finer minds than mine. And rest assured that I'm in capable hands, the people looking at these things, the people living these things are on the cutting edge of this accelerating and expanding horizons. What I'm calling today the evolutionary acceleration. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I wanted to go back to the dimensions. 1 dimension, 2 dimension. We're on space-time. And space-time is the 4th dimension. Space is 3 dimensions, as we've already determined. And time is the 4th dimension. And time is a fascinating topic. But there's the 4th dimensions. And as I'm talking about evolutionary expansion, evolutionary acceleration, as I used it yesterday, was expanding horizons. Today is evolutionary acceleration. And I mentioned that it resonates with remembering, resonates with memories of the past, and morphing, there's a morphing into memories of the future. And as everything is a pattern, it will come around to repeat. But this is where the spiral comes in. Even though it seems at first blush that it's the past, the patterns of the past coming around on this spiral, by the nature of the spiral, even though we've gone a circle, which we're in the process of completing now, but this is a spiral, so the vibratory level is higher. And I went to sleep and dreamt of dimensions, and dreamt that we're in a period of transition, this fourth dimension, and the fourth dimension will morph into the fifth. And in human design, which I've talked about before, they talk about 2027, the raves, the new kind of expression of Homo sapiens, the next level where people are intuitive, where people relate to each other telepathically, where emotions instead of intellect will reign supreme. The intellect and the intellectual world that seems so real to us for the last several centuries is on its way out. The things that we take for granted, like making this video, like the internet, the structure that's necessary to provide us with these services is on its last legs. So I'm fortunate about the time. I'm embracing this time to utilize the technology that's still available to me and to us, to share, to reach. And this will morph into telepathic communication. Let's wait and see. I don't think we have to wait long. And this process of change, this acceptance, this fifth dimension, if you will, this higher vibratory level is available now. And those of you that can sustain the light energy, can make your body through care and nurturing and reflection, and can make your heart full of compassion and unconditional love, can already feel this fifth dimension. It's here already. And as we rush headlong towards it, the acceleration of kindred souls, people that are waking up at unprecedented levels. More information is available now, more people are sharing than ever before. And it's growing exponentially. So enjoy the fourth dimension as you perceive it, and come on to the fifth. And I want to talk a little bit about what happened last night as I was living in the fifth dimension. And almost verbatim, almost my intuition, revelation, remembering, all peeked into this fifth dimension, to understanding what's coming, what we're hurtling towards, what we're spiraling towards. And in the internatum, in the space between my two sleeps, sleep 1 and sleep 2, I was inspired to look up the fifth dimension on the internet. And of course I got that group that I grew up with, the Age of Aquarius, the fifth dimension, that great soul pop group of my times, classic music. And interesting, I know nothing about how they got this name, but I just knew that this music was a remembrance of when we all lived in the fifth dimension. We were all there in the past, and we'll all be there in the future, sooner or later. My feeling is, why not sooner? But many of us still have lessons to learn in the third dimension. And the third dimension will still be available for those that need to learn more. It takes as much time as it takes. And that's all there is to it, evolution. But previously I had that kind of understanding that we're going to evolve out of the physical body to be able to experience the levels that the fourth dimension was the highest vibratory level that our bodies could go to. But last night, it dawned on me that I'm living in the fifth dimension already. And the body's still here. So the epiphany I had is that maybe we're not done with this body yet. That it too can evolve and exist on higher levels of vibratory consciousness. Wow. Maybe we're not as ready to shed this body as we once believed. I know I felt that the next level of the fifth dimension would necessarily mean that my body was no longer available to me. The vibration was too low. But I found that to be not so, as it dawned on me that I, and many of you as well, are already celebrating and living in the fifth dimension. So, the epiphany that I had, the revelation that I had, led me to that fifth dimension, looking on the internet. What a great tool. I love Google. Hooray for Google. I hope some of you could find me on Google. I hope that's how you found me. Yeah, I find a lot. It's a tool that I've grown fond of, and admit that I didn't use it in the past as much, even though it was available. But now, my iPad is with me as I sleep. Has its own place on my bed. Yeah. Along with extra pair of glasses so that I can read in the middle of the night. And I mentioned yesterday, glasses have been relatively new for me. I've only needed them the last couple of years, but I noticed that once you start using them, they become more and more necessary. But that's probably because my eyes are getting old too, just like the rest of me. So I went to this site, I found this, and a couple of hits down. I don't know how Google rates. I don't know if you paid to get a higher. I really don't know how it works and don't care much because I can usually find what I'm looking for. And what I wanted to do is that I found the exact words that I was looking for in an article called Awakening to the Fifth Dimension. You can Google it if you want. And the words were so clear, but as happens to me, I couldn't write them all down, and they kind of disappeared. But I knew I had them here. So I will utilize this, but with the caveat that almost the exact word for word, if not the exact word, the spirit of the word. And here's the key points of the fifth dimension. All people live in peace and harmony, experiencing oneness with all of life, fully respecting all people and the earth itself. Love and compassion flowing through all communications. And this is certainly so for me as I repeatedly say, but it bears saying again, experiencing the oneness, surrendering to the oneness that is all of us and everything, and celebrating that oneness and seeing the world in oneness, the people, the animals, the things, the mountains, the sea, is all part of the same. And that's a beautiful thing. And it fills me with compassion and unconditional love. And that's the first point. Then they talk about equality, justice, respect for all human beings reigning on the earth. No more hunger, poverty, or crime. Abundance available to all. And there's that abundance. I've celebrated that abundance with you in the past, in other episodes or chapters of my YouTube videos. That everything is available in abundance. And let's look at them again, because equality, justice, and respect for all human beings reigning on earth. It's still an ideal, isn't it? In this time of challenge to these ideas, America having a president, the Big Orange, as I call him, the Big Orange, with the heart of an orange, the soul of an orange, the color of an orange. But honestly, folks, I take an orange over this guy any day. But talking about inequality and celebrating all the things, the opposite justice and respect, equality. But these changes will come, and I see this man as an unwitting agent of this change, that everything he stands for will be rejected, that every policy that he promotes will be upended, and we'll look back on these current days with a sense of puzzlement that we had reached so low as to choose a man of this caliber. But as they say, the night is darkest before the dawn, and the dawn's coming, so this equality and justice will grow with like-minded souls who are waking up, who are keeping their body and their mind and their heart on high enough levels to exist in the fifth dimension. And there's no room for that other nonsense. And it will disappear. No more hunger, poverty, or crime. That couldn't be more different. There's another polarity. Our world as we know it, and the world of the fifth dimension. Yeah. But abundance is the key here. Everything that's ailing us as a people and as a culture and as a world is fear of lack. It is the fear, as we know, those of us that know the world offers only abundance. But it's the fear that needs to be addressed. And fear in the process of evolution, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional evolution, it's fear that's the biggest, toughest adversary. And I think it's only through realizing that we live long after this body is left behind. The fear of death, banishing the fear of death. Instead of fearing death, you replace it with embracing life. And death is illusory. It's the toughest part of the Maya for some to leave behind because it's so intertwined, fear and the ego. Fear is food for the ego, and the fear dries up in that process of the ego being banished, leaving us through evolutionary steps, just as everything else occurs. Okay, the next point. How about this? Everyone living without fear, with complete trust in the divine. Fear and trust. And let's go on to the fifth point. Everyone awake to the majestic, divine, interdimensional beings that we truly are. We are able to change dimensions. And I want to say here that the fifth dimension is certainly not the be-all and end-all. How could it be? There's many dimensions. My quantum physicists are talking already about 10 or 11 existing simultaneously. And we'll be able to navigate, to travel interdimensionally. And some of us are already gifted, and we can do that already. So it's just the rapidness of the changes. Now, between the third dimension and the fifth dimension, where there's a lot of work to do, isn't there? Because we seem to live in a world just the opposite of the world I've described, and others whose vision I share, because the words could have been mine. And this just reminds me that we all share each other's words. We experience these words in the individual context of who and what we have been. But as we move forward, as we remember what we will be, these seemingly unsurmountable poverty, lack of clean drinking water, one of the basic fundamentals that many times gets overlooked, as it seems that fewer and fewer people have access to clean drinking water, as if water can become a scarcity. Water will be here, has been here, and is here. It's only us that's clouding it up with greed and with desire and with pollution that this greed and desire has produced. The water's there. It may not be conducive for our consumption, but we have to look in our heart, in our minds, to accept the real source of this, our own ignorance, our own fears, that as a people united by the sameness, the same source, will rise very quickly to address these issues. By embracing abundance, by raising our personal vibrations, by accepting unconditional love, through our growing and evolving compassion, it will change so fast that in the scale of time, it will be less than a blink of an eye, less than a heartbeat, less than the space between our breaths. That this transition, this accelerating evolutionary process is speeding up. This understanding that time is not linear. The linear time is an artificial construct. And I want to be so bold and go so far as saying that lack, fear, hunger, pollution is a result of misguided efforts, thinkings, feelings, and that the answer has always been with us, in us, for us, and of us.